Imagine building something so powerful it changes your entire family's future, only to have the very people you saved tell you you're not good enough to lead it. That's exactly what happened to me, and that night at the gala, with champagne glasses clinking and camera flashes going off, I felt the kind of betrayal that burns deep into your bones. I had poured every ounce of myself into saving our family business. We were on the brink of bankruptcy, creditors breathing down our necks, employees terrified they'd lose their jobs, and I locked myself away in a tiny apartment for months coding an app I believed could save us. Everyone thought I was wasting time, even my own mother, but 6 months later, that app transformed our struggling little company into a $250 million empire. You'd think that would earn me respect, maybe even a seat at the head of the table. Instead, I sat there in my best suit at this grand celebration my family threw, the chandeliers glowing overhead, feeling like an outsider at my own victory party. My mother stood at the podium with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She clinked her champagne glass and announced in a proud, clear voice, "Tonight, I'm thrilled to announce that your new CEO will be my eldest daughter, Claire." Applause erupted. I forced myself to clap along, though my heart was sinking into my stomach. Then, like a knife, she turned to me in front of hundreds of guests and said, "You're just not leadership material, honey." And as if that wasn't enough humiliation, she handed Claire a massive bonus check on stage, praising her for her business acumen. I plastered on a polite smile and clapped like the good little son I was supposed to be, but inside, my chest felt like it was on fire. That night I barely slept. I lay awake in my penthouse apartment, staring at the ceiling while the city lights blinked through my window. My thoughts churned. I had bled for this company. I had given it my soul. And they had chosen her, Claire, who had been on vacation in Italy while I was coding through migraines and caffeine crashes, to lead it. My mother's words replayed like a broken record. Not leadership material. Maybe I wasn't, or maybe they were too blind to see what I'd become. By sunrise, I wasn't angry anymore. I was cold. I decided I'd show them leadership, just not in the way they expected. The next day at the office, I walked in wearing a sharp charcoal suit and an expression that made people step aside. I spent the day quietly watching, listening. I noticed how my sister strutted through the halls, soaking up the praise, making impulsive decisions, firing longtime employees she didn't like, and changing strategies I had carefully put in place. She wasn't leading, she was playing dress up. My mother, too, seemed blind to the danger of handing her the reins. I realized then that the company wasn't safe with them in charge, and if I didn't act fast, everything I'd built would crumble. So, I devised a plan. Unlike them, I didn't make a scene. I worked in silence, moving pieces one at a time. Over the next few weeks, I quietly began buying shares. Because of the app's success, I had earned enough in stock options and bonuses to make some serious moves. I contacted old investors, business partners, even competitors. Many of them were more than willing to support me, especially those who knew I had been the one to build the company's backbone. Some sold me their shares outright. Others allowed me proxy votes. I made sure none of it was obvious, filing everything under holding companies and trusts, using legal avenues to mask my growing control. Claire thought she was untouchable. My mother believed her golden child would carry the family's legacy. I smiled politely at family dinners, pretending everything was fine while secretly becoming the largest shareholder. At the same time, I started coding a second app in secret, one that would take our company to a level no competitor could touch. I worked late into the night, just like I had during the first crisis, but this time there was no desperation, only focus. I wanted to make sure that when I took back control, I would have undeniable proof of my worth. Every keystroke felt like reclaiming power. While Claire was giving interviews and basking in her new title, I was creating the future. The board meeting where everything unraveled for them was a day I'll never forget. My mother and sister walked in like royalty, Claire in a designer dress and my mother in pearls, both oblivious to the storm about to hit. I was already seated, calm and collected. When the meeting started, Claire began presenting her vision for the next quarter, filled with buzzwords and flashy slides, but I could see the board's skepticism. When she finished, I stood up and presented my app, a fully developed platform that would double revenue projections within the year. I demonstrated the live prototype, showed analytics, and laid out a 5-year plan that blew everyone away. By the time I was done, the room was silent. Then I dropped the bomb. With a calm smile, I slid a folder across the table containing documents proving I was now the majority shareholder. The board erupted in whispers. My mother's face turned pale, her hand gripping the table. Claire's jaw literally dropped. I said in a level voice, effective immediately, I'll be assuming leadership of the company. Claire, you're relieved of your duties. My sister started to protest, but I cut her off. You said I wasn't leadership material. I'd like to see you say that now. The motion passed unanimously. There was nothing they could do. Watching my sister storm out of the room, her heels clicking angrily against the polished floor, was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. My mother didn't say a word. She just stared at me with a mix of shock and disbelief. I turned to her and said quietly, "You underestimated me. That was your first mistake." In the months that followed, I took the company to new heights. The second app launched successfully and shattered every record. Employees who had been mistreated under Claire's brief reign came back, grateful for stability. The press caught wind of the internal power shift, and suddenly I was being hailed as the visionary who saved not one, but two industries. My mother eventually stepped down from the board, unable to face the humiliation, and Claire disappeared from the business world altogether. I never gloated publicly. I didn't need to. Success was the loudest revenge I could ever ask for. Every time I walked into the office, every headline praising my leadership, every deal we closed, it was all a reminder that I was more than leadership material. I had become the leader they could never be. Looking back, I don't feel guilty. I gave them a chance to do the right thing, and they spat in my face. They chose favoritism over merit, and they paid the price. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction, it's about reclaiming what was always yours. If you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever been told you weren't good enough, let this story remind you that sometimes the sweetest revenge is not anger or shouting, but quiet, undeniable success. If this story hit you in the gut, smash that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories of justice, karma, and sweet, sweet payback.